Hey, Dr. Tench. I am glad the semester is over. I think we've all been very stressed out, and I know you have too. I know that this semester has been a difficult one for a lot of us. So I'm glad it's come to an end. But that being said, I've really enjoyed your class, as always, just like I did last semester. I learned a lot that I don't think I realized before, like coming into this class. I didn't understand how much information we can learn about child development. I didn't think about all the aspects of it. So, learning that first off, not all kids develop in the same way. Yes, there are, like regular, like typical development of children at certain ages, like their skills that they should have acquired. And realizing that not all kids like are going to reach that at the exact same point, like there might be a bracket of 5 to 7 years where they'll meet these skills. Someone might meet it at 5, someone might meet it at 7. That's really interesting to think about, and it's really something that I had never taken into consideration. Additionally, thinking about the fact that child development has more to do than just like cognitive development and physical development. It also includes the social emotional development and the personal awareness and body awareness and safety and health. I think that that's something that I really had never thought about. This is something that, kids have to learn. Health and safety. I guess I kind of assumed, actually, I just never thought about it, to be honest with you. I never thought about that being a part of a child's development. So that was something really interesting that I learned this semester. And while the case study was very stressful, I learned a lot. I got to witness what it was like to see a typical developer. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, it's good that my student was a typical student. He was reaching most of his developmental milestones. I did not get to see an atypical student. I know some of my friends in our class have had students that are atypical, but I didn't get to study it specifically, and that's something I would have liked to have done. So I wish I would have chose a different student just because, my kid was pretty good with most things. But it is what it is. I still learned a lot. I think like one of the most interesting things is I was able to take some of the theories that we learned in class and really apply them to real life situations, such as, using Vygotsky's theory of cognitive development. I was able to determine that my kid was within the concrete operations stage. He was developing logical thinking, but still not thinking abstractly. He understood reversibility and classification. This was really interesting because I was able to read it in the textbook and it didn't really make sense. I didn't understand what these things meant while just reading it, but being able to apply it in practice and, take real life situations and apply that theory to them was really interesting to me. And I feel like that really made me learn a lot. But I do think that throughout this entire semester, probably the hardest thing for me was determining the students, cognitive development. I think that this was a little bit harder just because I had to come up with activities to where I could test that cognitive development. I had to come up with things for short-term memory, long-term memory. These were all things that you couldn't just observe by sitting there and watching someone. You really had to get in there and work with the student, and that was a little bit difficult in the class setting that I was in just because the teacher was not very flexible. So, I really had to go out of my way like during planning and pull him out of activity, which was very unfortunate for him, but he did enjoy our encounters. He had a good time, so I had a good time. But overall, I think the case study was great. I wish we could, I don't want to say that. I don't wish we had to do a case study in every class, but I do think that we definitely learn more with doing the case studies because we are applying that knowledge in a real life situation, and that's what we're here for. We're learning how to apply these concepts in the field of education, and I'm glad that we got to do that. That being said, I learned a lot. I learned about, zone of proximal development. I've been able to apply that to my lesson planning, thinking about how to differentiate for kids, what they're capable of. I think that's like one of the most important things that I really learned this semester because that applies to the everyday classroom. But overall, I mean, I've had a really good semester. I would say that one of the things that's a little bit overwhelming is the theorist. I know that there's a lot of theorists within child development, and we need to learn about them because they're all important. But I think that going into the semester, maybe if you provide, or not even you, maybe just recommend it for the students, that they create a document and fill out specific boxes. So say there was a box with the name of the theorist, what their theory is called, then what the theory mainly talks about, the stages, if there are stages or if there's not stages, then explaining those stages. Like if they just created a big chart and then filled it in as they learned about the theorists and their theories, I feel like that would be a lot better because there are a lot, and they're kind of hard to keep up with. So I wish that was something that I would have done. I didn't think about it. I honestly didn't realize how many theorists we were covering. I know there's one in the textbook, there's a chart, but I feel like it's kind of hard to follow. I would have liked to have made my own, but by the time I realized that I needed to, honestly, I was involved in case studies. It was a little too much on my plate to go back and do all that. But I think that would be really helpful. Like going forward, if you teach this class online again, even if you teach it in person, providing students with a chart or telling them, hey, at the beginning of the semester, create a chart, create these titles, and each week you're going to add a theorist. I think that it would make it a lot more digestible. I know that you spread out the theorist a decent amount, but maybe even spread them out more than that. So like maybe do 2 theorists a week. And then students can study those 2 theorists each week and then just add on to the information that they already knew. And having that chart really it makes studying it so much easier. And I know this can be on the students because we should have done that. Like it's our problem it's our problem to study. It's our problem to learn. And it's not your responsibility to baby us. But I do think that making that recommendation for next semester's students would be very beneficial because I do know that personally, I was stressing out about the theory exam because I was like, oh my goodness, there's so many theorists and I don't know who to study, what to study. There's just so much to learn. But I do think that providing the study guide helped me narrow it in. It makes me feel a little bit more confident about it and everyone else feels much more confident about it. But I would just say that, this is some feedback that I have in the class, based on challenges that we've had or I've had or whatever. But other than that, this semester's been really great for me. Oh, I won't say great. It's been a good semester. I've learned a lot. I've digested a lot. And I feel like I've grown so much in my educational practice compared to last semester. And I look forward to learning more. And obviously, I hope that you're my professor again because I love having your classes. I think the majority of us do. So, thank you for always being so understanding and really wanting the best for us and doing whatever you can to support us because I know to a lot of us that means a lot because we were kind of drowning this semester. So knowing that we had that person that we could turn to, it was really nice. And, I hope to be that person for my students one day and provide that safe space for them because you provide that safe space for me. And I know Drew and Jacob and a lot of others. So thank you. I will actually see you tomorrow at the meeting. I look forward to it. Have a great summer.